Hello friends, I am so excited to share with you Infosys Scrum Master interview questions along with answers shared by one of our channel viewer from New York, United States. Friends, I am observing new trend in US market. Now along with usual behavioral and situational interview questions, interviewers now started giving case studies to solve to check practical approach and out of box thinking of candidates. If you are coming to this channel first time, please check out Scrum Master interview playlist for more similar questions. And friends, please turn on captions for this video for better understanding. Before we get into interview questions, a very quick warm welcome from myself. My name is Suran Sharma, that's me in the center of the screen. I'm a agile consultant based in Den Haag, Netherlands, and I'm helping people for last 2 years to successfully pass their interviews. I always do that by giving your top scoring real world interview questions with detailed answers you can't find anywhere else. Friends, please make sure you subscribe by clicking the button below the video and then you won't miss out any of the weekly videos I am uploading. And I would also appreciate your support if you gave a video a like. Your one like is a big motivation for me because that tells me you enjoy the content and I will create more for you. Thank you very much. The first question is, Scrum Masters are true leaders who serve the Scrum team and the larger organization. Can you tell us what is leadership by example? So let's start. What is leadership? Leadership is the ability to guide the people under you or your co-workers towards achieving the best results and the success with the set workplace objectives. When people are working as a team in a company or organization, there is a need to ensure that they are on the same page and working towards a common goal. Therefore, a leader is needed to ensure that the team collaborates towards that. Being a leader is all about how and what people can learn from you, seek your expertise, experience, and advice, and are inspired by you. Leadership comes in various forms and levels. However, it doesn't matter whether you are the CEO or just managing a project. The leadership skills you portray will help others reach their desired and set goals. Some of the common and essential leadership skills are communication, creativity, motivation, feedback, and even positivity. Leadership demands that one be a very good communicator. This is because communication can either make or break an organization. Clarity is essential when you want to get things done. When delegating work, exchanging ideas, or giving a report, you need to be as precise as possible. When dealing with people who are not on your level or you want to explain something to even a layman, use simple language, but still ensure that they can understand you. Non-verbal communication can also come in handy, whereby you can use your eye contacts, hand gestures, and your body language to emphasize essential points and relay your message. As a leader, you should avoid getting stuck and maintaining a limited view of your position. By having the big picture in mind, you are able to always encourage your team to work towards achieving the end goal and desired results. You will also be able to make better decisions and handle necessary changes effectively. If a project fails, you as the leader should not dwell on what went wrong and finding excuses or playing blame games. An excellent leader does not always have a time for small talk and unproductivity. In place of that, proactively seek a solution to better things, solve a problem, and grow the business. Set a good example to the team by thinking positively. This will also help improve their attitude towards work and even motivate them. Having them excited about their work will generally improve and change the work environment, and it will be easier to get things done in such an atmosphere. It will be best if you aim to serve as a role model even when you do not think so. You have an audience. By doing so, you will be continually improving your performance. The Scrum Master serves the Scrum team in several ways, including coaching the team member in self-management and cross-functionality, helping the Scrum team focus on creating high-value increments that meet the definition of done, causing the removal of impediments to the Scrum team's progress, and ensuring that all Scrum events take place and are positive, productive, and kept within the time boxes. The Scrum Master serves the organization in several ways, including leading, training, and coaching the organization in its Scrum adoption, planning and advising Scrum implementation within the organization, helping employees and stakeholders understand and enact an empirical approach for complex work, and removing barriers between stakeholders and Scrum teams. The next question is, how would you work with team members with diversified cultural background? Friends, in these kind of questions shows interviewer that you are a team player by demonstrating how you have gone above and beyond to support other team members who are different from you. Being perceptive and sensitive to others is very critical. Explain that you are habitual to working in diversified environments and that you can quickly adapt to any different situation in which you are placed. The sample answer will be, I respect people of all cultures and backgrounds. When I communicating with someone of a different cultural background, I listen carefully and intently. In return, I try to clearly convey my response to ensure I am adequately handling their needs. I have worked in a few different countries and developed good work relationship with people from different cultures. In Netherlands, I work with French, German, Spanish, and Indian co-workers, as well as with Americans and Japanese co-workers for remote support. I like to take time to get to know people and where they are from. I'm interested in traveling and finding out about other countries and culture. I always go out for a meal with people from different cultures, particularly since a lot of different cultures are based around food, and people feel more comfortable. They open up when they are enjoying food from their home countries. The next question is, how do you deal with conflicts at workplace? Friends, believe me, if you are going to give 10 interviews, in 9 interviews, people will going to ask this question on conflict. Friends, to answer this question successfully, assure your interviewer that you are a good listener who can accept opposing views without getting upset. You could also mention how conflict resolution should take place in a private space. It's not a secret that conflict is a part of life and definitely a part of day to day business. Conflicts are unavoidable even in the most engaged of workplace. Regardless of the source of the conflict, if they are left unresolved, conflicts can quickly impact employees' morale and productivity. It's important to practice the following skills when resolving team conflict in the workplace. The very first is create a healthy culture. Treat everyone in your team fairly and equally. Provide them with praise and recognition and be open and honest at all times. Second is learn to spot the early sign of conflict. Read teams members' body language, whether they are cross-armed, facial expression, and tone of voice. The third one is deal with conflict promptly. Take action early to help your people resolve the situation before it escalates. The next one is develop rules for handling conflict. Ensure that team members listen to one another, respect each other's point of view, and refrain from interrupting each other. The last one is never take sides. Your role is to help the team members address the issue causing the conflict and to reach a resolution that works well for them. Let's see types of team conflict. The very first is task-based conflict. Occur in situations when team members rely on each other to complete a task or a project. When one person on the team does not complete their part of the task, it can affect another team's member ability to finish their part of time. For example, if a team member always turn in their design document late, it causes the developer to be late with their coding as well. To avoid these conflicts, make sure everyone on the team knows what they should be doing in their position so tasks can be accomplished efficiently and on deadline. The other type of conflict is work style conflicts. There are differences in work style as well. Work style conflicts occur because team members have different preference on how to accomplish a given task. Some work quickly and move on to the next task as soon as possible, while others prefer to complete tasks slowly and mindfully. Some people are self-starter who require little or to no direction to finish a task, and others need guidance every step of the way. The best way to avoid this type of conflict is to recognize that everyone's work style is different and find ways to collaborate to achieve the same goal despite those differences. The other type of team conflict is personality clashes. So the personality clashes are some of the most common types of team conflicts. These type of conflicts are caused by difference in personality among team members. You are not always going to get along with or like every person you met, whether they are your coworker, supervisor, or peers. It can be challenging to work with someone whose personality disagree with your own. However, it's important to try to understand their differences and learn how to work together peacefully and productively. Let's see how to resolve team conflicts. A relationship in this context does not necessarily mean friendship or closeness, but rather points to a mutual understanding in which members of a team agree upon roles and boundaries in the workplace. If you want to establish a professional relationship with a team member, it can be beneficial to do so in a systematic way. You could call a meeting and discuss the points, what role each person has, and what their respective responsibilities are. Possible conflicts that may have taken place in the past, and how to best deal with the issues going forward. Rules with regard to meeting and email etiquettes. There is a difference between hearing what team members are saying and employing focused listening. The latter involves listening with intent as well as interpreting nonverbal clues such as body language. If you learn to listen to people more closely, you will respond in a more understanding way. Team members are also likely to notice that you are more receptive, which might change the way they listen to you in return. In such a working environment, it is more likely that conflict will either not arise or that it will be settled in a calm way. Act and react objectively in the workplace. Although it is common for individuals to act in an emotional and subjective way, you should always strive to be as objective as possible in the workplace. Attempt to focus on a team member's behavior as opposed to concentrating on aspect of their personality. Acknowledge the conflict and find a resolution. Part of conflict resolution includes acknowledging there is a problem in the first place. Once the conflict has been recognized, everyone involved needs to agree upon reaching a resolution. Try to see the conflict from the viewpoint of your other team members and focus on the things you can agree on. This will help you better understand what they feel and how they think and allow you to come to a resolution together. In some cases, you may need to involve your HR department or a supervisor if a conflict can't be resolved, whether it's because someone is failing to cooperate or sometimes much more serious, such as harassment or discrimination. Resolving workplace conflict requires teamwork and an understanding of each other's different viewpoints. Once conflicts are resolved, the best way to move forward is to recognize that mistakes happen. A team that is willing to work together to resolve workplace conflict can strengthen their relationship and accomplish their goals. The next question is, your product owner complaining that Scrum team missing sprint goal commitments regularly and complaining about no trust. What do you do as a Scrum Master? Missed estimates are not an opportunity for blame, but rather an opportunity to inspect your process and adapt it to fit the requirement of your organization. The product owner, the Scrum Master, and the development team must all work together to learn from the failed sprint. Rather, they all are one Scrum team. Blaming the team is not constructive, but asking the team to inspect the estimation or delivery process when there is clearly a process problem is extremely reasonable. In fact, it's a part of responsibility as the Scrum Master to engage the product owner and the development team in the various Scrum meetings to identify and remove roadblocks to successful project delivery. Scrum Master need to involve the PO and the rest of the Scrum team to find out root cause. Some possibilities might be the Scrum team is doing a poor job of estimating story size and taking on more than that can be fit into a sprint. The Scrum team as a whole may not be articulating a sprint goal that is both achievable and clearly defines what stories are essential to the current sprint. Retrospective or other forms of inspect and adapt are not being performed to identify why the process is not working. The process is not respecting the time box nature of the sprint or the Scrum framework. Transparency of the process is essential to the success of any agile implementation. Closer collaboration required with PO. As a Scrum Master, you must be able to provide the education, feedback, coaching, and the process adaptation necessary for a successful Scrum implementation within your organization. Scrum Master need to collaborate more effectively with the PO. Whatever deficiencies your team may or may not have, the relationship between the product owner and the Scrum Master is one of the most important aspect of the Scrum framework. Next question is why single backlog for cross-functional team is important. The biggest advantage of having a single backlog is that it's make priorities clear. If there are multiple backlog, then priority can be unclear. For example, is the second time on the item X backlog more or less important than the second item on the team Y backlog? This is important when there are shared resources between the teams, such as a shared database administrator or just one performance test environment. When contention or for the shared resources happen, then a priority call needs to be made. There are dependencies between the teams. If story A needs to be done by team X to unblock team Y, does it have any priority over the stories in the team X backlog? All these kind of questions are important, and that's why priorities are very important in the product backlog. We should also understand an important thing about the product backlog, that within a Scrum framework, there is a one-to-one relationship between a project and a product backlog, a product backlog and a product owner, a Scrum team and a product owner, a Scrum team and a product backlog. Let's go through this case study. Assume you work in a small video game development studio where the whole company is one team working on one product, and each person has a fixed broad functions. So there are programmer, artist, and musician. Team can't be cross-functional since the range of function is very wide. It is not likely the typical case which you read or commonly like the database engineer can do a bit of front-end engineering. It's rare to find programmer that have artistic talent, and even the rare to find artists that can code at all. In Kanban, it looks like one way of dealing with this is to have each discipline as a column and to move stories from example in progress engineering to in progress art as it progresses. But in video games, there is not a hard dependency between disciplines. No need to wait for all one discipline to be done before the other can work. And if there is, the disciplines will work closely together to iterate on that one task story. So swim lanes like this does not make sense to us. In a Scrum, when picking a set of stories to accomplish one sprint, some sprints will have mostly an art-heavy stories queued up, and some sprints will have mostly engineering-heavy stories queued up. By picking the next most important stories, you would be committing to having some team members set idle once their part is done, since as we said, artists are unable to move on to engineering tasks. In both cases, in a small company, any spare capacity can't be moved to other teams, and the hiring process to increase capacity for some disciplines is far slower than actual work, and of course, not always possible or desirable. So the question is, what do you think may be a good ideas to work on this such type of scenario? What to do if the team can't be made cross-functional? Friends, I would suggest please take a pause, go back, read the case study again, think of your own answer first before jump into the most likely way you can reply. Friends, before going into case study, if you like this video so far, please hit the like button. Your one like is a big motivation for me to create more such videos in future. So without much delay, let's see most likely answer. And as told you in the past, always personalize your own answer. Let's understand the term cross-functional team. A cross-functional team is a group of people with different functional expertise working towards a common goal. It may include people from finance, marketing, operations, and HR department. Typically, it includes employees from all levels of an organization. Members may also come from outside an organization, in particular from supplier, key customer, or consultant, or in this case, programmer, artists, and musicians. It is not a team where every member can do everything. Rather, it's a team that is capable of doing everything. So if your team is capable of taking a project from start to finish without waiting on dependencies, then it's a cross-functional team. Looks like in this case, we are falling prey to the 100% utilization fallacy. In agile methodologies, the goal is not to keep everyone busy or to optimize for team members' utilization. Rather, the goal is to optimize for a smooth, sustainable flow of features or functionalities over time. With that in mind, there are a few things we should do in this specific case. Craft product backlog items that consist of thin vertical slice of functionality that requires the combined skill of the entire team whenever possible. User stories that require only one team member to complete are often a process implementation issue. Encourage whole team collaboration to complete each user story rather than parceling out stories to individual silos. Accept that overly narrow stories may cause idling for some members of the team, but recognize too that this evens out over time. For example, your graphic artist may have more to do in one iteration, but your engineer may have the lion's share of the work next time. So you are optimizing for flow, not utilization. Built in more feedback loops and collaboration. So opportunities between disciplines, for example, graphic artists and the front-end engineers should be collaborated together in a tight feedback loop, not sequenced in a way where change or opportunities cost go up. So for the second part of this case study, we can have Kanban board set up in the normal to-do, doing and done fashion, and with breakdowns in the doing to identify an area. A more refined way to do that would have our Kanban card colored styled in a way to identify the team working on it. So let's say red cards for dev, green cards for art, and yellow cards for engineering, etc. That way our board does not get unnaturally big and stay within our WIP limits. We can also have different boards for different Scrum teams. So if you have truly non-cross-functional, that is IT team, art team, voice acting team, you can split them into their own Scrum teams with different Kanban boards. However, you want to share the same backlog as that is where you measure overall throughput, burn down, and cumulative flow. The only problem is where we would have two things in an iterative or waterfall fashion, where one task absolutely cannot be completed without another user story card being done, which which may cause us to want to either keep the Scrum Agile team together, or if we can decide to split and to do different boards. Have all the Scrum Agile team attends the same daily Scrum call so everyone is aware of the work. Regardless of your Agile methodology, your goal should be to reduce hands-off and queue time. Active collaboration within a Scrum team will do this itself for work in progress. Creating Kanban queues and tracking cycle, lead, and tech time will not inherently do this, but will certainly make process waste visible and explicit. Friends, part 2 of this video coming soon, so do not forget to subscribe for new uploads every week so you won't miss out latest Scrum Master interview questions. Thanks, have a nice day.